Hey everyone, it's Taylor from Bravely Beautiful, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Nude Illusion Liquid Foundation from Wander Beauty. I found this in my search for a beautiful full coverage foundation, so if you'd like to see my full review, then just keep watching. This is the first product that I have ever tried from Wander Beauty. It is $40 at Sephora. It is online only, so you can't go in store and look at it, unfortunately. Let's talk about the claims of this foundation and why I was drawn to it. So first of all, of course, it's full coverage. That was definitely up there for me. It also says that it's good for all skin types. It says it has a natural radiant finish. Now normally I would go for a matte foundation, so I was curious to see if this would hold up or make me look oily. Now what they say is that it is a weightless fluid foundation formulated for full coverage with a natural radiant finish. It gives the skin a filtered finish with all-day coverage without ever feeling heavy, that it resists heat, humidity, and sweat. It is also formulated without parabens, sulfates, phthalates, and it is a cruelty-free and mineral oil and fragrance-free oil foundation. So this could be great for a lot of people looking for a foundation without a lot of those irritating ingredients. Now let's talk about the shade range. Now this foundation only comes in 12 shades, which is a pretty small shade range for most foundations that are coming out these days. The other thing about it was it just gives the color. It doesn't talk about undertone at all, which is really helpful. So that was kind of hard when choosing a foundation. One, that there's only 12 shades, and two, that it doesn't talk about the undertone. So the shade I got is Fair Light, and it's a little bit dark on me. It's a tad bit dark. I probably could have gone for the shade Fair. There's only one shade lighter than this, and that was shade Fair. So I probably could have gone with that one, but it was hard to tell. Okay, let's talk about packaging. I'm not super impressed with the packaging. Like the appearances, I mean, it looks pretty, but it's not that practical. So it looks like a squeeze tube, but it's not. So you open it up and I have to be careful here. It has this massive doe foot applicator, which in itself isn't horrible. I mean, I don't like it. I don't necessarily like just putting that on your face, especially when you have acne or other things. The last thing you want to do is transfer bacteria from your face back into your foundation. But that wasn't the biggest thing. I would have preferred that it came in a pump or a squeeze tube. But the other thing is when you pull it out, like it has this cap in the middle so that you don't pull out too much product, but it tends to splatter when you pull it out. Like I got some on my chest earlier and on my shirt. Just, you have to be careful when pulling it out. So not super impressed with the packaging, and I also feel like it would be really hard to get all of the foundation out of this with this doe foot applicator. I don't really see how that would work that well. The application of this foundation is actually really nice. It goes on really easily. You have a good amount of time to work with it before it dries, so you can really work with the product well. I prefer a beauty blender like I do with most of my foundations, just because I find that it doesn't knock off foundation from breakouts. So I really liked that. It works really well like around the eyebrows and around your lip and hairline. It doesn't settle into those places. I also find that it doesn't settle into lines. So overall, it was really easy to work with, and I enjoyed that part. The coverage of this foundation, I would say, is on the low side of full. Now, you know, all of the foundations, almost all of the foundations that I will be reviewing are full coverage, so it is in that full coverage category, but you know, over all of the full coverage foundations that I tend to try, it's on the lower side. I'll show you here my before and after of before the foundation and then after I applied it, and you can definitely still see breakouts and pigmentation through it. So I definitely had to go back in with concealer afterwards, whereas some of my super full coverage foundations I wouldn't have to conceal at all. I definitely still had to do a good amount of concealing work afterwards. The finish of it, I would say, is accurate from their claims. It is definitely a radiant finish. It is not a matte finish. For that reason, I think that it would be great for people with dry skin. It looks really beautiful. I love the way it looked right after I applied it, but it did make me concerned for the longevity, being that it was already dewy and I tend to get oily throughout the day. This foundation does seem to be transfer proof. Like if you put your fingers on your face, nothing comes off. Now if my coat was to rub against my face, a tiny bit might come off, like if you actually rub it, but as far as like doing the finger test, nothing comes off, so that's really nice. So wear time was the biggest downside for me. Now, it didn't break apart, so that was really nice, but I definitely looked shiny after 6 hours. Now for me, that's pretty normal, and especially considering that it started off looking kind of radiant and a little bit dewy. I'm not mad about it. 6 hours is pretty good considering. That being said, I did not use a primer under this foundation, but I did use a setting powder, and it was a mattifying setting powder from Maybelline, which is what I use almost all of the time. So I definitely needed to touch up after about 6 to 8 hours if I didn't want to look shiny anymore. But it wasn't breaking apart on my face. So that's why I think it would be great for someone with a drier skin type. I think it would look beautiful for 8 to 10 hours. I did do the flash test with this foundation, and it had very, very minimal flashback, maybe a slight white overcast, so no problems there. Overall, I really would recommend this foundation. I think it's a beautiful product. I think it looks beautiful. It looks skin-like, it's radiant, and I think it would do really well on normal to dry skin types, and even me who's a little bit oily, I still enjoy it. Now, I will use it more for like an everyday type thing, not when I need my foundation to last 14, 15 hours like I do when I go to work. But if you want to check it out, I'll put a link down below that you can check it out at. Let me know if you guys have tried this foundation, because when I looked at it on Sephora, there weren't that many reviews. It doesn't seem like that many people know about it or have been talking about it. So it's definitely kind of a hidden gem right now. So let me know if you tried it, what you thought about it, and what your skin type is. If you liked this video, hit the like button below. That really helps me out. And subscribe if you want to see more content from me and foundation reviews like this. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.